Hi, I am Carissa Disa Kamek, and I am 40 years old. I live in Modesto, California, and I have two kids. One is 3 months old, and the other is 4. Both are girls. I am married, and I'm here to do a survey and answer some questions. I have, like I said, two kids. I always planned on having two kids, and they are amazing, wonderful babies. I love them both. I can't imagine life without them. Um, I have always known that I was going to be a mom, so I really was prepared. I expected things. I looked for the good, the bad, and the ugly. I grew up around a lot of children, aunts and uncles, cousins. Everybody was having babies. So I knew what to expect. I didn't really get surprised by much until my second one was born. And it was really just about how hard it was with her. My first daughter, it was like a light turned on, and the world was brighter and everything was sharper and more lovely and just amazing. And with my second, I was laying on the C-section on the operating table having a C-section, and they had pulled her out, and I could hear her crying, and my heart was just racing, and I filled with love and just in anticipation and anxious to see her face. When I heard the nurse say, gosh, within what felt like seconds of her being born, oh, she has a cleft palate. And suddenly, I felt like I was in a bubble, a vacuum of some sort, and everything was being said from a distance. And my husband brought her over, and she was perfect. She was beautiful. She was screaming up a storm. But I feel like that bubble, that numbness, didn't go away. I had a harder time bonding with her than I did my first. My husband really bonded with her. Really bonded with her right from the beginning. And 2 days after being in the hospital, or coming home from the hospital, I was sent back and re-hospitalized because I had, an enlarged heart and fluid on the lungs and all kinds of stuff going on. And I was separated from her and freaking out because I was trying to nurse her, and things weren't going well there because the pediatric nurse that is part of the cleft palate team told me that, that cleft palate babies don't nurse. They only use bottles. And so through some of that trials and tribulations, we were really struggling with nursing. And so now I had to give in and use formula and a bottle and kind of kiss my opportunity to nurse normally, which really affected me because I nursed my oldest to 2 and had some problems there, but we managed to overcome it. And then this poor girl of mine had colic. So after a week of me being healthy and her being at home healthy, she just started crying constantly. It was really hard. It was really hard. I didn't expect that at all. And I used to get hostile because I would be with her all day trying to do whatever I could to make her feel better. And she looked at you with such anguish in her face when she was crying. And there's nothing you can do. You give her acid reflux, gripe water, gas drops, massages, hot baths, heating pads. Nothing. And then my husband would come home. 2 seconds of holding her, she's done crying. And that just kind of reinforced that numb bubble. Me feeling like she didn't like me. And then I kind of had an epiphany. I reached out to my mom's group. Of course, they've been a huge help. And I kind of realized the bubble was of my own making, that I was very hormonal, that this baby loves me just as much as my first did. It was only me putting in these barriers and these walls, and we just had to figure it out. And we did. And this was probably about week 4. And things got really much better. Much better. And colic was week 4 is when colic just like grew horns and got ugly. Oh God. But I was in a better headspace. And so I weathered it much better. Was able to battle all the different people telling you like, you're doing it wrong. This isn't normal. Your child shouldn't be screaming like this. You know, and it reinforces to you when you hear that maybe I am not doing it right. Maybe I'm not enough. But luckily I was in a better headspace. So I was able to be like, no, you have no idea what this is like. Believe me, I'm doing what I know how to do, and what the doctors are helping me battle through, what my husband is supporting me with. She's 12 weeks this last Friday. She's a dream baby. She sleeps through the night. The crying's down to nothing. She smiles now, and she's just got more personality now that she's not hurting all the time. So that surprised me, I guess you could say. Long answer to a very short question. I was really surprised with my second that bonding wouldn't just be instantaneous. And it was, of course, harder, you know. So the second question is, I kind of have the same job that I had with the first. I work for a Chamber of Commerce. This time around, I'm an event coordinator. But previously, I worked for a different community, all within 15 miles of where I live. But it was a different community. And I was the Convention and Visitors Bureau person for that Chamber of Commerce. I had started with that chamber previously as the event coordinator and promoted up into the Convention and Visitors Bureau director. So I was very familiar with, I spent 10 years with that first chamber. So now here I am in the second chamber, and I had started in August and my daughter was born in January. Every staff that worked there, I had already had relationships with and I already knew. And then the job itself I'm familiar with. I was just learning a new community and a new batch of members. But for the most part, it was all the same. Wasn't my own choice to change directions. I got laid off from the first position, from the first Chamber of Commerce, but luckily the second one offered me a position knowing my work. So that definitely is a positive. The biggest surprise or change when I had children, I didn't really, being 36 when I had my first, I was kind of done partying. I'd filled my social butterfly, I could say, sowed my oats, needless to say, and I was very ready to be a mom, and I really wasn't surprised by the all-consuming behavior that mom's life has. So I don't, other than what happened with my second and that weird numb bubble, I don't even want to call it, postpartum depression, if that's what it was. I don't know if that's what it was. If it is, then we need to do more explanation to poor moms, because I'm not sure. I didn't feel depressed. I was able to laugh and all that other good stuff. Probably the most embarrassing thing that happened to me as mom happened twice with both babies. My first week at work, I was pumping, obviously, during my work day, because I was nursing my child. But I decided to meet up with a friend at lunch, and I would just pump after lunch. Didn't realize that I forgot my nursing pads. After I'd pumped in that morning, I didn't put them back in. So in the middle of lunch, I felt that sort of, all too familiar feeling. And I got up to go, just check myself in the bathroom. And as I'm walking down the hallway of this restaurant, there's a full-length mirror. And I can see my satin silk light shirt with these huge, water spots of my milk just dripping all the way down. I didn't have a sweater. It was a warm, sunny California day. And I had to figure out a way of getting from the restaurant back to my office, especially because I walked to the restaurant. So I had to walk downtown. And then you'd think the second child I would have learned. I was on maternity leave, and we were having our annual planning conference for the board of directors. And so my husband and I traveled there, and we participated in the planning conference. He really was great help with the newborn. And I had been upstairs pumping, and I came downstairs for the morning session and forgot my nursing pads again. And it went longer than I thought. And I'm like, I need to go upstairs and pump, but it's just going to be 15 more minutes. I can wait 15 more minutes. And then I felt that feeling. And I was like, oh, good. But this time I had a sweater. So I just put my sweater, my cardigan on, and, covered the leaks and went about my business. So those, I guess, are my most embarrassing. I don't really have too many embarrassing mom moments, thank goodness. Or I should say yet. The thing that I wish someone had warned me about when I had children, well, the first time would have been how very difficult breastfeeding is. Now I believe that breastfeeding for an American girl like me, I think it's not natural. It's not natural. Society has pushed it, that innate ability to nurse our children out of our head. And so we don't know how to get an effective latch and have a comfortable hold and to trust our bodies to feed our babies the way we trusted them to make them. It was really hard. It was really hard nursing my first one. And then, even though I had fought the good fight and managed to do it with my first, the second one, I just did the same thing. I let medical people and the people around me convince me that I didn't know what was right for my daughter. And then, of course, being sick afterwards, that didn't help either. But I probably could have come back from that. So now this time around, I'm exclusively pumping. And we'll see how that goes, because I hate to pump. So she's not getting 2 years, I can tell you that much. Right now, my goal is a year to get it past her cleft palate surgery. And then that thing is being lit on fire, and I'm never seeing it again. The next question is, what belief, thought, or opinion changed drastically when I had children, prior to children? I was very good. I was a nanny for a little while, and I was really good with discipline and structure and getting kids to do what I wanted them to do through positive reinforcement, all of that went out the window. My 4-year-old, it's a good day if I can get her to listen. She doesn't pick up her toys. I don't know how I got children that weren't mine to put their toys away when they were done with them. I don't know how I got children that weren't mine to eat the food that I put in front of them. But for some reason, with my own children, I can't get them to obey. Well, the 3-month-old, we can't really count her. I still have time there, hopefully. Maybe my 4-year-old, she's very independent, and that's a good thing. But it surprises me that I can't. She's a really, really great child. It's not like she's a holy terror. But whew, that girl has a head on her, and I just can't. I can't get her to do what I want her to do. I have to let her be her, and that's really hard. I'm not used to that. I guess that answer number 7 is like, what part of being a mom have I not figured out? And getting my child to eat is the biggest one. I like to think I'm special when I say my child's picky, because she's damn picky. She's picky. We go to McDonald's for a Happy Meal. She doesn't eat chicken nuggets because she doesn't like fried food or breading. She has to have just the hamburger patty because she doesn't eat the bun. She doesn't like melted cheese. She doesn't like sliced cheese. Forget sauce. Not happening with anything that grows. She wants just a hamburger patty. Oh, and she says no glitter on it because she doesn't like to see the salt and pepper. That in enough should tell you how picky this girl. She doesn't eat bread. Who doesn't eat bread is fabulous. How does she not eat bread? Maybe one day she will outgrow it. I think the only vegetable officially she eats is carrots. And they have to be raw, and they have to be mini. And that is the only vegetable I can get her. When she was a baby, I could get her to eat anything and everything. But now, as a free-thinking adult or child, it's not happening. But she's still growing. She's very healthy. She's always hitting her measurements. So she got a nice, smart brain. So we'll just hope that she's picking up vitamins some other way. It's really hard to think about what you're good at. It's hard to, I guess we are taught not to think well of ourselves. We're easy to criticize ourselves, but we're not very good at complimenting ourselves. So this question I asked my husband because I wasn't really sure what I do well as a mom. I think I'm a good mom. I have my days, and I try really hard to honor the feelings that my child has, if even though it drives me up a wall that she doesn't want to go to the bathroom because there's a mosquito eater flying around the light, I have to honor that for her it really is scary. She doesn't understand what it is, even though you try to tell her, and she's afraid of it. And that's a real fear, just as though my fears are real. This one's real for her. So I do think that I'm a good mom overall, but what do I do well? And my husband said that making our kids feel special, just gonna make me cry through this whole thing. He said, I just have a knack for making them feel special. And he says, today while I was at work, my 4-year-old was waiting by the door. He said, like a dog for mom, mom to come home. She was just counting down the minutes. And he says, and that's just because you make her feel that good. And that just made me feel good. I'm glad that's the case. That would be a great thing to be really good at. I'm a crybaby. What part of momhood do I have figured out? Do we ever have anything figured out? Is there ever a moment when you say, I've got it, that's it? You know what? There is that moment, and it's right then that all hell breaks loose. Because I certainly haven't figured out how to go to the bathroom without interruptions. I don't want to say I haven't figured out. I'm still learning it. I'm still trying to make sense of everything. I come up with new game plans every day. So I'm going to say that I don't have it figured out. Of course, I get a reminder now that my phone needs to do something. So I hope that didn't do any damage. The best advice that I've heard on motherhood, that's really hard. I have a horrible memory. And that is because of motherhood. I did have a better memory at one point. So something that I got from my mom that wasn't necessarily as advice. It's just something that she has said to me that she worked really hard to do and was really conscientious about creating memories. She said, as we grew up through our childhood, she was very conscious that this little project, this trip, this activity was going to create, a memory, a time capsule of just an awesome moment in your life. And I think that is something that's really important for our children. I know that I have a great time falling back on my childhood memories and talking to my mom about those memories and the things that we did, and feeling special and thinking, that my parents went the extra mile for me. They really cared about me. But they're just really sweet memories. They really are cool treasures. So I hope that I can do the same for my kids, that I can create, these little memory pods like Inside Out, that these little jewels that I've given her for her lifetime can see her through hard moments, or I could say see them through. It's hard to get used to talking about 2 kids. See them through the hard times, and get them through those rough spots. Okay, for my kids, my 4-year-old's full of advice. She's a sassy one. I'm trying to think of something that I want to say. She said a lot of things that just make me sit back and think, wow, this kid, she's something else. I can't think of it right now. I think of all the little things that she'll say, sweet little things like, None of it is advice related. So we'll pass on that. If I think of it again, I'll come back. From other moms, probably the biggest and best advice for me has been all the nursing breastfeeding advice that I've gotten. It was a big deal for me as the one hole in my motherhood education that I didn't come prepared for. So I think it's the place that I went the most to for resources and for advice. But the biggest and best advice from the other moms was that I needed to trust my body to nurture and feed my child the way I trusted it to grow the baby. You know, I never doubted that I couldn't grow a healthy, normal baby. But from the minute she was born, I doubted my ability to feed her. I doubted every bit of it. And then once we got latched down, I doubted that I was, had enough milk. And I doubted if I should nurse her while I was sick. God forbid she gets my cold. Well, she probably was already exposed to it, so we better give her the milk and the antibodies that was in it. So I think that was my best mom advice from my friends, to just trust my body to do what it was meant to do. And that is to grow and nurture and protect these babies. One of the must-haves that when you deliver your baby, I've learned with my second baby that every mom out there on that first month, if they plan on nursing, they should go get a hospital-grade pump. Oh my God, that thing is amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I pumped for a year with my first, so I'm quite familiar with the pumping process. And I was a full-time working mom, so I needed to have a freezer stash. I'm getting like 3 times the amount of milk with that hospital-grade pump than I ever did with my very expensive Medela pumping style, pump. I mean, like, it's amazing. It's amazing. Amazing. So that was my biggest, that's, you can make do with a lot of stuff and go without. As far as baby paraphernalia, it just depends on a person's life and their personal preference. But if you are planning on going back to work or giving your baby a bottle at any point, I say within those first 6 weeks, rent yourself a hospital grade pump, because it's so cool. Now, it might cause problems for some moms. They might increase their milk flow so that it's a little too hard for a nursing baby to latch. I unfortunately I didn't experience that because mine was exclusively pumped bottle feeding. So that might be an issue, and you might want to wait a little bit. But again, that hospital grade pump, it's just amazing. Amazing. I mean, seriously, I get 12 to 13 ounces first thing in the morning. Not the whole day, but just that first thing in the morning, 13 ounces of milk in one pump session. That was almost a whole day's worth of pump with the previous pump that I used. Okay, enough soapbox. One piece of advice that I would share with expectant moms about delivery. I was a C-section mom both times. And, I think my advice is to try to remain as calm as possible. And when they're doing the spinal, to bend over as much as humanly possible. Open that back up wide and distract yourself. Sing a song or talk to the nurse and start asking questions that require you to think. Ask them so that you're not really focused on what's going on, because it doesn't really hurt. It's just a very awkward moment. It's cold in there. You're naked. You're scared out of your mind. But it doesn't really hurt at all. I mean, I think giving blood hurts more than that. So if you can distract yourself and just keep your back wide open so that there's no hiccups or problems, I think that's the best advice you could have for a C-section mom. As far as with the new baby, my advice is skin to skin time. A ton of skin to skin time. Whether you're nursing or not, skin to skin time. I would ask visitors to hold off for a little while. I wish I could go back in time and tell all the grandparents that the baby was going to be born an hour later than it actually was, so that I could have that skin to skin time, that quiet time, kind of decompressing from surgery. it's a lot to deal with, and everybody's so excited about the baby, so they're passing her around, and then coming home, I was so busy tending to my older child's needs and just doing dishes and vacuuming and trying to sleep when baby sleeps, that I didn't do enough skin to skin time the second time around. I didn't do really that much the first time. And it's important. It really is important to skin, for your own mental health, for the babies. So that would be make it a priority. What is the one product you would share with new moms? Hospital grade pump. And moms of more than one child. Moms of older children. My older child was almost 4. She was 3 and then turned 4 a month later. She's fantastic. She made life easy. She's a helper. She's, maternal. So she tries to mommy and love her sissy. So, I don't really have too much advice there, just because my kid made it easy, super easy. Even though I had a colicky baby who took way more time and energy than a regular newborn, and she was left to her own devices a lot. She was yelled at a lot because she was either too loud and we just got colicky baby to sleep, or she was trying to love on her, or it was not easy. And she was amazing. She's amazing. What do I wish I had known or done differently? I really, really wish that I could go back in time and stand beside me the day that my daughter was born, when the pediatric nurse called and told me that because my daughter, she was really hostile to begin with. Don't worry, the lactation consultant that I at my part of my insurance plan let her have it 2 months later, because she's continued to be hostile about the nursing. My daughter has a soft cleft palate. So it's in the soft palate. It's way in the back of the throat. And my lactation consultant has been a lactation consultant for 50 plus years. The woman has seen and done everything. And she has told us that soft palate issues does not mean that a child cannot nurse. They still can get the suction. They still can pull out the milk that they need to pull out. So that this pediatric nurse is telling me on day 1 that cleft palate babies should not breastfeed. Point blank, should not breastfeed. She says 1% of them will ever do it successfully. You're doing it for yourself, not your child. So, I dug my heels in and I said no. And she says, okay, what we need to do is test your baby's ability to suck, to see if she is able to pull milk. And if that's the case, then we'll let you just go ahead and nurse. So her plan on day 1 of my child is, 10 hours old. She gave her a formula bottle of a 10, I think it was 10 milliliters. I mean, it was like a lot of milk. It was a good chunk of milk. So it was 10 milliliters of milk, and told her to see to time how fast it was for her to suck it down. And 10 milliliters, my girl sucked down in less than 10 minutes. And so she says, oh, okay, she's more than easily able to pull out milk successfully. You should be allowed to breastfeed her. Well, the problem is my milk didn't come in for 4 days. It was 4 days after my child was born that my milk came in. And the whole time when I put my baby to breast, she got very frustrated. She got very angry. And eventually, at the end of those 3 to 4 days, the minute I would pull her close and have her on her head on my breast, not even nursing, but just trying to put her close to me, she instantly reacted negatively. She now associated me with frustration. She had a stretched out belly from that formula and didn't like that nursing from me only gave her just a little bit of something. It teased her and she wanted more, and she was very hostile and angry. And I think that absolutely sabotaged it. I had a very hard time latching her, at 5 days. So that's 4 days when I noticed the connection. And I thought, well, I'm out of the hospital now. Her and I are going to go on a nursing vacation. I'm just going to lock myself in the room, and her and I are just going to sit in the room and nurse. Now that my milk has started to come in, we'll be okay. Well, then the very next day, I'm back in the hospital because I'm having problems with my heart and my lungs, and they're, hooking me up to EKGs and doing MRIs, and it's all bad. And it's flu season, so my baby can't stay with me in the emergency room. And as a result, she had to have a bottle with formula. And she did not want to go back to mom and work at pulling out milk when she could just get it so easily from a bottle. So I guess that was something I wish I could go back in and fix. I have a running theme here. What do you wish, or actually, what one part of motherhood do you wish you could outsource? Cleaning. Do you know how hard it is to clean house and keep house clean when you've got a 4-year-old, a colicky, Krabby Patty newborn, a 80-pound German Shepherd? It is impossible. It is impossible to keep up with the level of yuck that goes on in my house. I'm barely able to dig myself a path now as it is. We spent 4 hours this weekend, my husband and I, cleaning, between taking care of both kids, and this house is still not company ready. I desperately wish I had a housekeeper. Even just temporarily, give me a housekeeper for like the first month. Then I don't think we would have gotten so bad. But now it's like, there's a couple rooms in the house that look like an episode of Hoarders. Then let's see. Complete the following sentence however I like. I think I'm too hard on myself. I think I could let go a little bit more on the judgments and not being, or doing things exactly right or good enough or reacting well. I wish that I wasn't so scattered and forgetful. This baby has really tapped my mental resources, and lack of sleep, or I don't know what, being old. I don't know what the deal is, but this time around, pulling out words has been hard. Remembering simple things, getting mad and hostile because I thought somebody else moved something because it's not where I think I put it, and then finding out I was the one that put it away and hid it, and it's been in this space the whole time. Yeah, so I really wish I could remember and have my brain back, And the last of my kids are fantastic. They are amazing, amazing. My 4-year-old is like just the biggest heart, love, fun thing you could ever imagine. Oh my God, she's just a crack up. She's a joy. And my baby is just as sweet as can be. She has weathered so much and is still such a happy little girl. She's gonna be one of those smiley babies, just one of those little babies that just light up when they see anybody walking down the aisleway of the grocery store, because she's just so happy. Might be because she feels good and she's still celebrating. Oh God, it's good that colic's over. I've always had a personal motto. For the long time, it was Stephen King's sometimes being a bitch is all a woman has. Because that is so true. That is so true. When it comes down to it, sometimes just, fighting for your personal rights and your place, and just being assertive, aggressive, and balls to the walls is necessary. It's necessary. Another favorite motto of mine is Scarlett O'Hara's tomorrow is another day. I might use that one a little too much because I don't like to let, I just don't want to suck out the energy with problems. And it's like, you can only think about it so much. So I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to put it off toward tomorrow and I'll worry about it then. Right now, I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to live in the moment and let tomorrow take care of itself. But those are my two personal favorite things. I am sorry that I cried through this whole interview. I also am not sure how I'm going to get a 30-minute interview back to you. So hopefully you see this. I hope it's what you wanted me to do. And I wish you luck. Bye.